Husker fans, I'm Paityn Tabor, and this week marks the beginning of the first Coaches Show of the season. Each week I'm going to sit down with Coach Cat and discuss his preparation for the upcoming Saturday game. This week we're going to talk about how he and his team have been preparing to face Wisconsin Lutheran in their home opener. Stay tuned. Hi Coach, thank you for taking the time to meet with me. The first thing I wanted to ask you is, going into this first game of the season, it's also Heroes Day this weekend. Everyone is super, super excited, but how do you temper the excitement of the first game so that your guys are going to come out on Saturday playing their best?
Yeah, I don't want to temper anything. I want them fully energetic. I want them fully in every state of their emotional being. We've been practicing against each other for 20-plus practices now. It's really time to go with somebody else. But within that framework of the emotions and the energy they're going to have, they have to be able to maintain that focus, to have that situational awareness when they're in that chaos and they're feeling all these different things, to know that they still have one task in that play or one task in the game. And I think that for them, this is the most fun they get to have. Like, we have a 9-month off season, we get 10 games. And for me, that is for every one of our players. Football is one of those games where on any given play you can get injured, and that could be the end of the season for you. And so they've got to go out there and have all that emotion, have all that, because we ask them to do something that's not normal. It's not normal to go throw your body into another person as hard as you can and run and block and tackle and do all those things. And so I want them to have full commitment into that. And so I don't want to temper it. I just want it to be a part of how their focus is built.
Yeah. Speaking about all of that emotion and focus going into this Saturday, you have over 20 seniors on your team this year, many of whom are very, very capable leaders and have experience with the jitters that the first game of the season can bring. But come Saturday, how do you expect them to lead the younger guys and set the tone for the rest of the season?
Yeah, I think it's about knowing the when. Their experience tells them when they should let their emotions out. And I think that if our players that are veterans have been around us long enough, they've seen that sometimes those early explosions of emotion drain you. I don't care what emotion it is, if you're laughing a lot or you're crying a lot or you're angry a lot, like, that drains your body, it drains your energy system. And so knowing when it's okay to have those, but also knowing that, okay, we don't open it up just yet. Leave the can closed. All right, now it gets opened. And it's not a fatigue moment where we've been in that heightened awareness state from 9 o'clock in the morning when we wake up. And, now all of a sudden it's 1 o'clock and we're exhausted and the game hasn't even started yet. And so really understanding when that, the proverbial light switch needs to be flipped on different things. But keeping it under control so that we're not too high and too low as the game ebbs and flows.
As with any game, but especially going into this first one, you, I'm sure, have your expectations of how the game should go, but there's always going to be those unexpected things that can occur. How have you tried to prepare so that you can best handle the unexpected when it's undoubtedly going to be thrown your way?
Yeah, I think we do a lot of that in practice, creating unusual experiences that we've had in the past and throwing them into a practice plan and saying, okay, all of a sudden it's 5 minutes into practice and we do a 2-point play because it's just something that's different and they have to adjust in that moment and get fired up and ready. But I think most of the situations are pretty common in a football game. It's going to be downs and distance situations. It's going to be the red zone. And we've practiced quite a bit of that, both in our practices but also in our scrimmages with North Park. And so hopefully, as we go through this, what you find our team doing is, we've done this before. And so we know what to expect. Now, the defense is going to be different. The scheme might be different on offense, whatever. But we're going to have known the situation and how we need to respond to be successful. I think that our guys will do a great job with that. That senior leadership that we do have should carry us through those moments. But I do think the one thing that's kind of unique in that senior group is that not a lot of them are returning starters. And so we did graduate a bunch of guys that were returning starters. And so you're going to really see some guys in some new scenarios where the expectation, the preparation has to meet, maybe 3 years of preparation as opposed to just 3 weeks of preparation.
As we've been talking about, you have a lot of returners coming back, and your team had a very clear identity of who they were last season. But as this season kicks off, what type of identity are you hoping that your team will develop?
Well, that championship mentality that goes 1-0 every week. I think that part's been the same for 17 years. Mm-hmm. And I think that if we continue to go 1-0 in our practices and our games, it'll be great. But I think with those guys, if you talk about that attitude, we still want to run the football well. We want to use that to set up the pass. We want to be the best special teams program in the country. That remains one of our top goals. And then defensively, we want to be stifling and we want to have a commitment to running to the football. I think that so much of our success hasn't been one player driven, and it hasn't been, you know, scheme special that we do. It's really the fact that we have this sellout of effort on every play. And that goes from our ones to our twos to our threes, whoever is on the team. As long as that mentality stays the same, we'll have a lot of success, because even when we make a mistake, there will be two other people running to that spot to help make the play better.
Yeah. Coach, can you preview Wisconsin Lutheran for me? Their quarterback graduated last year, but they have their senior running back, Justin Parbs, who averaged 112 yards per game last season. What do your matchups look like, and what will your guys need to do in order to ensure that they come out on top?
Yeah, I mean, Justin's a really good running back. We saw him firsthand last year against us. But they have a couple of really talented wide receivers, including Mike Dupree, who's number 2 for them. And their coaching staff last year took over the program during the COVID spring season. And so now they've had a full calendar year. And I would expect, offensively, that they've really worked out some of the wrinkles that they maybe didn't have clean in our first game against them last year. They're really explosive in the run-pass option game. They like to hit the pass on the glances and things like that. And so I think they're going to be quite the challenge for us offensively. They bring back their entire offensive line. So this is going to be a really good football program, despite losing, Nick Yockey at quarterback. They've got some guys who got some playing time last year and had some experience. And so I think having a whole spring with those guys in the fall camp, they'll be ready. I think on the defensive side for them, they're a team that kind of went into a couple of different fronts last year. They were a 4-man front, they were a 3-man front, and so we actually don't know which one we're going to see this week. So we've had a lot of practice working on both, and so sometimes when you have to spend your time working on both, it doesn't make you great at one thing, but it makes you able to handle the different things that'll be thrown at you. And so I think from our offensive perspective, being able to identify the front that they're in, identifying where certain players are in the secondary, because they have some experience there as well. And then number 6, Castillo, their linebacker, he's a really talented player. I think was their team. I think he had 100 plus tackles last year in the season. So they've got some guys that can make plays, and we just have to do our best to mitigate that and be patient. I think that's, if there's one thing with our offense this year, then we have to be patient throughout the course of a drive and not be in a hurry to score and try to get the big play every play. I think that we have to be really happy with some 2 and 4 yard runs that are eventually going to wear them down and lead into bigger plays. I think we did that really well last year in some games. And we just need to, have some similar mentality and focus to that this year.
Yeah. Well, that's all I have for you today, Coach. So thank you so much for chatting with me, and I look forward to talking with you next week after the first Forester victory of the season.
Awesome, Paityn. Thanks for having me.